Welcome to another exciting episode of the Late Night Hour, broadcasting from our secret, undisclosed, underground bunker location. The voice of freedom, and a warm welcome to you. Here on the Late Night Hour, we explore the topics not found on television.
You're listening to the Late Night Hour.
The Open Society. What is the Open Society? That's the organization funded by George Soros. You keep hearing about George Soros, how he's funding all these subversive organizations around the world, not just in the United States, but everywhere. And you hear about the Open Society, and the Open Society funds things like Black Lives Matter and a whole bunch of other organizations. We'd have to spend 1 or 2 hours just talking about all of the organizations funded by the Open Society. What's the Closed Society? Is this radio show open or closed? I can assure you we are open for business. On a beautiful Thursday evening, everything is relatively calm. Why am I talking about George Soros? Why should you care about George Soros? Because you're going to hear on the news everybody saying, especially say on the conservative programs, they're always calling out George Soros, the Hungarian, I believe, born. He may have dual citizenship. He's not even a U.S. citizen completely, I don't believe. But anyway, reverse this. Just think it through. Use common sense. Let's say you were a Hungarian and you live in another country and you were funding the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan, or some other militia or something, and you lived in another country. You were Hungarian because that's what Hungarians do. They fund subversion. Do you really think that this government would stand and allow somebody who lives outside the United States to fund the KKK or to fund Islam or extreme Islam, Islamic terrorists? And so, when you think this through, this government allows George Soros, the Hungarian, to fund the Open Society and then funnel all this money to the groups that are out rioting on the streets, shooting at cops, telling us we should disband ICE. I mean, the list goes on and on. But why don't they just arrest George Soros, seize his funds, freeze his assets, and throw him in Gitmo? There we go. The reason is Soros is allowed to operate freely because our government is in on it. That's the only answer. Of course, George Soros, you can search organizations funded by George Soros, and it'll bring up the Clinton Foundation. Here we go again. And you'll say, well, he funds all the liberal organizations. But that's the common narrative they like to push, that there's this boogeyman, George Soros, who is out funding all these liberal organizations around the world to fight against conservative values. And that may be true, but they've ignored telling you that the same George Soros provided a $100 million loan to Trump Incorporated. What? George Soros is funding both sides. You see, he's funding, yes, the Clinton Foundation, Black Lives Matter, many organizations, but he's also funding Trump Incorporated, $100 million loan. We might say he gave more to the right than he gave to the left. And so, you see, it's all one big game. That's why Clinton is never arrested. Soros is never arrested. Mueller is never fired. It just goes on. And day after day, they play this rather stupid broken record for the masses. And so, what I'm doing here on the late night hour is in a long way around it. I'm helping you understand each and every day. You see these news stories. Mueller's going to do this. It's Labor Day weekend. They're going to make a big announcement on Friday, tomorrow. That's, something's going down with the Russian investigation. And the answer is, who cares? Nobody cares, because it's all political theater for you, to get you upset, to get you mad, to get you disgusted. And so, here on the late night hour, I want you to take a deep breath, stay away from the television, and just relax. The sun will come up tomorrow. I think that's a song, but you probably don't want me to sing that for you this evening. And so, I am telling you kind of the news that there's this big announcement tomorrow on Friday about the Russian investigation. Ho hum. Okay, don't fall for it. They fund both sides to try to make you pick a side. And in doing so, you're buying into the two-party paradigm. Those evil liberals or those evil conservatives, that evil KKK or that evil Black Lives Matter, they're all funded by the same people at the top. And this is a perfect example. So when you say here on the late night hour, you support the Clintons, or you support the Bushes or the Trumps, and the answer is we support none of them. We are for independence, independent politics, and we would not support any major party. We do need honest, independent candidates, and that's the hope that we can, as citizens, get behind people who are not from Washington, D.C., but not from the casinos and the Trump Incorporated either. And we need to get to a point where we can break up this two-party monopoly and actually run real candidates that aren't in the pocket of somebody higher up. Now, next week, I promise you, I'm going to spend a whole day just on Trump. I'm going to call it the Trump report card. What did he promise? What did he deliver? And so if you want me to summarize that in one sentence, I would say Trump is running a big stall game. Very little progress and lots of talk, lots of misdirection, but really accomplishing very little for the American citizens. This is one big stall game that's being run. And I refer to that stall game as the Trump card. You see, it was kind of a setup. That's kind of my feeling here, is that give the public what they want after the disastrous Obama administration that destroyed many of our rights, got rid of more jobs, put in medical tyranny with Obamacare. Oh, they were a real doozy, this Obama administration, of corruption. And so give the people what they want. They're not going to want Hillary. We'll bring in an outsider in Trump. And we'll make it appear that the people have got a new person who's going to drain the swamp. Instead, what they're running is this big stall game. massive stall game. So I really don't think that much is going to change, and I really would not listen to the news on any of this Russian Mueller impeachment. It may be designed from the beginning and part of the Trump card to put the new face in of Trump, the political outsider, and then impeach him. And that will just cause even more frustration, anger, maybe even riots between the left and the right. Because with riots, the cities are burnt to the ground, and out of the ashes rises the phoenix. The phoenix, which is their new tyrannical system. And that's how it works. They have to burn everything down. Out of chaos comes order, their new world order that they love to brag about. Fortunately for us, many of these old geezers, because many of these new world order people are in their 80s and 90s, and they're fading fast. Yes, we have the new evil generation coming in behind them, but they may not have the zeal of the David Rockefellers and the Brzezinskis and Kissinger and the Bushes. They may not have the zeal for this disgusting and corrupt system that they call the open society, because everything's open for sale, I think. Maybe that's the little trick of the open society. They like to pose this as the society of tolerance and acceptance and destruction of your borders as you import all types of nationalities to create the universal generic citizen. And so don't fall for it. The open society means the tyrannical dictatorship. That's the society they really want to bring in, but they're not going to call it that. That would be stupid to tell you, yeah, we're going to bring in the dictatorship, we're going to throw out the Constitution, disarm the public, and take over. They're not going to tell you that, so they make it soft. We're going to bring in the United Nations. We're going to bring in trade. We're going to bring in the open society. I'm starting to get upset here, so I'm going to have to take a little break and be back in a minute to grab my favorite beverage. And thank you for joining us today on a beautiful Thursday evening, broadcasting from deep in our secret underground bunker. You can give us a call. Our call-in number is 515-602-9663. And I need to tell you about a warning for the American people, and I will bring that up in just about 1 minute. We'll be right back with you.
She walks into a winter day. She walks into a midnight haze. She will follow you. She will follow you. She will follow you. She will follow along you.
You're listening to The Late Night Hour with Alex Abrams.
Hello, live caller. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How you doing? Can you hear me too? Good?
Yes, I hear you very clearly. Is this my friend from Singapore?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, my friend.
You're up early again. How can we help you?
Yes. The world passport is issued in. They have office in two offices, one in United States in New York, They have one offices in actually in Asia. So
A
the
world
word passport,
passport. Okay.
yes,
Hmm.
is a 30-page machine-readable travel document with alphanumeric code line, a scan in the passport, your photo, and ghost security paper with embedded logo. The data page laminated in 7 languages: English, French, Spanish, Russian, Arabic, Chinese, and Esperanto.
Oh,
Each
I see.
passport is
Hmm. Hmm.
each passport is
Hmm.
numbered of each page contains the word citizen logo as a background, and 2 pages are reserved for affiliated identification, diplomatic corps, organization. So
Wow. Okay.
basically, yeah,
Hmm.
just go to worldgovernment.org. You will find all the information, and then from your point of view, from your understanding, you can report it back to us. More details. What do you
Sure.
understand that under nose of American? I mean, under nose of the, the document issued based on United Nations that everybody has a right to leave the country of origin, come back to the country of origin that left. So,
Interesting. So again, it's a borderless passport for the universal
yes,
citizen, right? And do you
yes.
have to have a microchip in your brain for this thing, or did they tell you that
No,
yet?
no, no, no. I guess that is
Okay,
already.
that's next.
Maybe maybe it is already in the password already. So I
Well,
mean,
there is a
once
lot
you know,
of
just
sure. There's a lot of biometrics going into these passports, and in the United States, we have the Real ID Act, and so many states have to change their driver's license citizen.
sure,
Their
sure.
driver's license system, and
Yes.
that system change requires facial recognition to make your license that you issue in that state a real ID. So that's the biometric they're using here. And you might have caught a news report about, I think it was an illegal immigrant that was caught with facial recognition in Washington, D.C. last week, I think. So they're already using facial recognition. That's the system they want to deploy. But, they're not going to stop at facial recognition. They'll get into the microchip sooner or later, right? So that's
Yes.
very good
Yes.
information. Yeah. Hmm.
And
That's
and and,
exactly
and
what I'm
Gary
talking
Davis.
about. Right.
Yes, Gary
Go ahead.
Davis is the founder of the World Passport and World Citizenship. He if, can come from Canada to United States
Okay.
with the World Passport, and
Well, so
there
did
is a video.
so did Maurice Strong was another very corrupt person from Canada. So doesn't surprise me you got Canada leading this. This person's name. Repeat that again.
Gary Davis. Gary Davis. He was
Okay.
the World War II that he put away. I believe Hiroshima bomb on Japan. After that, he
Okay.
came and he organized it since 1955, and world
Sure.
government, world citizenship, and is already world government is making decisions on behalf of the world citizens. I mean, on behalf of everybody already, and still we don't know who are those people are behind that making decisions and issue the world passport. I mean, and even Obama has a world passport, my friend.
Interesting. Well, that's
Yeah, if you
very
go
good.
to,
It's a good point you made tonight. So that's something we definitely want to look
if
more
you
in
go to
depth
the
in.
video, he will show
Okay.
the copy of the Obama's world passport to the immigration
Ah.
officer in USA.
Mm.
He said, "Hey, Obama has it. I just mailed the
World
passport to him
passport.
already." And
Well, I'm trying
then
to
they
think.
said, "Oh, okay, okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead."
Hmm?
But no, and
Well,
then
I mean,
he
I've
goes.
heard
But
of
go ahead.
our U.S. systems with this Real ID Act. I know they have like
Yeah.
a global card. I can't think of the name, but I wonder if that's the world passport. There is something here called like a global ID that you can get through the TSA faster. They give you like the speed line. So
Right.
you have
It's
to go
similar,
in,
maybe.
and I believe, yes, give your fingerprints and things. So that'll be interesting. I
Yeah.
definitely would look at that. Go ahead.
Yeah, please look at that because you're talking about everything. So I just want to compliment you, because not everybody knows everything. So we all share
Right.
information. So hopefully
Exactly.
you report to us from from your underground bunker wherever you are. And
Well, I'm not
so,
joking about that. So,
no,
do you have
that's fine.
a bunker in Singapore yet, or you're working on that?
Probably, I have my own bunker too. Just kidding.
Hey,
But
let me wish
anyway,
you
it doesn't matter.
a great weekend, and thanks for your contribution today. Now, I'm going to tell you
Thank you very
something
much.
when you hang up. So make sure you listen. I'm going to tell you something when you hang up. Okay?
Okay, sure. I
All
listen
right.
to
You have a good
or
night.
put me on
All right.
hold a little bit. Yeah. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, our caller talked about the world passport. I wasn't aware of that particular term. As I talked about, there is the Real ID Act that's going to take effect. And this is complete BS that you have to show a biometric ID to travel between U.S. states. I'm not talking about traveling to other countries, but they are trying to limit our free movement within the United States. And that's a big problem. That gets into constitutional issues, restriction of travel with all this harassment. Not to mention a little bit of a moneymaker there, charging you $100+ for those global cards, I think they call them presently. I'll get the specifics. Next Monday or Tuesday, we'll do the specifics on Real ID, facial recognition, and the other biometric cards. But the even more important theory that this reminded me about is the concept that our politicians in all countries have already sold us all out to the United Nations using a stealth system. What do I mean by that? Our elected, well, they're not really elected, but they're corruptly placed in the office, and they have been signing agreements with the United States without ratification by Congress or the Senate. Without ratification, they're out signing UN documents. It's a stealth takeover. And there's a lot more to this, I believe, than we even know about. Let me give you one of the theories you might find extremely interesting when you talk about a stealth takeover of the United States and other countries by the United Nations. You've noticed recently, say in the last 10 or 20 years, all of this land being called like heritage land or biodiversity wilderness, or all these different crazy terms they come up with. Here's the thinking here. Our financial system is based on fiat currency. And I know for a lot of young people, they don't understand fiat currency. So I have to give you that so you understand it. Let's say you work 40 hours this week, and your corporate master gives you $1,000. You feel great about that $1,000 per week. And they decide not to give you a check. They're going to give you $1,000 cash bill for your 40 hours. You're high on the hog. But at the real level, the people, and there's not many of them, up at the billionaire, trillionaire level, I would say trillionaire level, which people will say don't exist. But let's pretend they do. They actually put up the 14.7 cents it takes to print the $1,000 bill. So when they print a $1,000 bill to get your 40 hours of work, they're actually giving you 14.7 cents. So what I'm telling you is this is already a credit system. Let's say that they don't print the bill. They don't even want to give up the 14.7 cents. They just go over to the computer and put in the number 1,000 credits for you. And so again, there they go. You've got paid and you're all happy. You got nothing because they just created the 1,000 on the computer screen. That's the digital currency system they're building to get rid of the 14.7 cents it costs to print any denomination of bill. They could give you $10,000, $5,000, $20,000, whatever bill they want to print. It costs them 14.7 cents. You have a college education. You have a master's degree, and they're giving you 14.7 cents in real money for your 40 hours of labor. Why doesn't the system collapse? It's gonna collapse. That's the whole point. Gold is not backing up our currency. It's just numbers on a computer screen and a $1,000 credit certificate. That's why the bill does not say dollars, does not say gold-backed dollars. It says, what is it, Treasury Reserve bill or something else. Okay. So the whole point here is the system is going under. People are understanding that it's really a hidden slave system. I also get a big kick out of these people who say, hey, I just bought a $500,000 home. Well, you don't own the home. You have to pay property taxes for life. Only royalty can truly own property. You'll never own that home. You'll be paying for life property tax, commonly known as rent. You see, they've changed all the terms just to fool you. You're renting that house for life. Congratulations, you're a home owner. Now, in certain countries, certain nationalities, oftentimes billionaires and trillionaires can actually own the property. If you go back into the Roman times, this was granted by the king. A free man, they called a free man. They had land, but guess what? The free man never owned the land. They had to rent it forever, so they fooled them there. You're a free man. Okay, you're still renting that land from the king forever. So you really should go back and look at these ancient economic systems. They're still the same. That's what they're doing to everybody. Now, I have to get back on point to the stealth takeover of the United States and other countries. When this economic system goes under, they're not going to have enough gold to pay back the collapse because we have a national debt. And who do we owe the national debt to? They never want to tell you. Who do we owe the national debt to? Well, let me give you one of the big names, Bank of England. Okay, there is your Rothschild's family. Okay, the Bank of England. When we had that recent bailout, they didn't want to tell the public for like 8 months. Where did those bailout funds go? Eventually, they had to release the list. And right on the list, one of the larger payments, Bank of England. You see, we collect all this IRS money, but we don't even collect enough money to pay the principal on the debt. We can only pay the interest. So what's going to happen, let me get to my point here, is when the system collapses, they've already provided the collateral. And the collateral is going to be repossessed, essentially. And that collateral is all the land they have designated as heritage land or biodiversity land. So you see, this whole environment, United Nations, not only in my opinion, but from many other researchers, this is the stealth system takeover. And when Obama was in office, if you research Obama, you're going to see these little orders. Give 50,000 in this state, 50,000 acres to heritage designation. Over here in another state, give 20,000 acres to the biodiversity. So you get my point. Behind our back, you can't see it because they won't put it on television. They're out giving away America's land as basically as collateral to continue to take out loans because we spend more than we take in. And that's the way they're taking over the United States. If you look at the trend of our debt, it just keeps going up and up and up, regardless who is in office. All of them are instructed to raise the national debt until this collapse takes place. And so this is a big issue here. And be aware of these little games and listen closely when presidents suddenly say, oh, I'm going to give this 30,000 acres to designated as heritage property. And these properties, in some cases, are already being, what do you call it, protected, armed guards. You used to be able to go in those forests, but suddenly you can't. And this is when we get into the UN peacekeeping force and other nations that are here to train, or are they actually just protecting these designated lands? Another example of the stealth sellout is when Hillary Clinton signed the Small Arms Treaty. Nobody ratified that treaty. She says we're going to give up all our small arms. That's what's pushing this urgency for gun control. They've already signed the agreement, and you can look that up. Clinton signed small arms agreement. And you see, I've said on this show many times, they've tried to take over the world, but the big push started with Jimmy Carter, Clinton, Bush, Clinton, Obama. So right in order, they've had a lot of these globalists, right in order, these puppets, running up the national debt, designating land to the UN, and like I say, they've been doing the basics, getting this ready for the big collapse. Then the lands are foreclosed on, which means they're just taken over by the United Nations. They no longer belong to U.S. citizens. This is a big sellout, and hopefully people will start to look into this in a lot more depth. Now, keep in mind on this show, it's theory, opinion, viewpoints. If they give me all their documents, I'll prove it. But they won't, right? It's all national security. Yeah, people will be darn mad when all their property is taken over by eminent domain and handed over to the United Nations. People aren't going to be real happy about this. And these politicians will be running underground very quickly. And getting to that topic, one of the things we do here on the late night hour is we monitor chatter from all over the internet to keep you informed if there's anything super important. There's only one super important item tonight that I want to talk about. But one of the things we actually do is we track these politicians. If they all disappear, an unplanned or an unscheduled vacation, we will alert you. And you do need to keep an eye on the president's speaking schedule. What is he doing? And you look and see if he drops out of sight for a week. Something may be going on. We know that George Bush was at the school. Remember the school reading the GOAT book that was held upside down when the 9/11 and the towers collapsed? And all of the CEOs didn't show up for work on 9/11. They were all in Nebraska. They had been called to a meeting by the good old Warren Buffett. Looks so nice and mellow and not a threat. These very evil people look mild-mannered and wimpy by design. You take the Bill Gates and the Bezos and Zuckerberg, they all look the same, very nice, very mellow. They couldn't possibly be selling out this country. This is the Trojan horse, and you have to start to look at these people in a different light because, in my opinion, this is the big game that's being done. Economic warfare to collapse this country and eventually place you into poverty, another Great Depression, And that could go on for a good 50, 100 years before you pull out of it. So this is their big World War III, the final end game. I'm hoping that we can beat this back for another generation or two, but you never know, because the more light that actually is cast on this system, the more in a panic they get. And the one good thing, now I've slammed Trump tonight, but the one good thing he's done is this human trafficking executive order. Now, he hasn't arrested anybody for it, but just putting it out there, you see, they need this human trafficking, child abuse, pedophilia. They need all that to blackmail all the politicians. That's the politician blackmail system. You know, you do all this dubious stuff and they film it. And that's, I think, was the design of Epstein Island. You'd invite people there like Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, many others. The Podesta boys, they all go to Epstein's Island and they have their very dubious dark playground, but they're all filmed and then they're all compromised. And I think that was a complex of compromising leaders from all over the world, not just the United States. I'll take a minute because it just makes me sick every time I think of Jeff Epstein and his island he was running. And you can Google that one when you have some time. And we'll be back in just a minute. And I'll tell you about the really important thing that you need to be aware of for the United States.
You're listening to The Late Night Hour with Alex Abrams.
So one of the things we do on this show, again, is we monitor all the chatter around the internet and let you know if something's going down in your area. Because if you can get a jump, let's say we detect something happening in Georgia. If we can give you a jump, you might be able to load a few things in that old pickup, grab a few camping supplies, and head for the hills and be on the road an hour or two before your neighbors. After an hour or two, the roads are so packed, you're not going to be escaping anything. And so, one of these nights, we'll go through all the potential disasters that people have found traces of, documents, evidence for. I would say they always have 5 or 10 operations ready. If they need to, let's say things are not going their way, let's start some fires in California. That'll be a nice distraction. And so if things heat up and too much attention is being placed on certain really important things, they're going to do a diversion. And so one of the things we do here is monitor all these leaks and movements of people to tell you if all the politicians in New York are gone this weekend. Wouldn't you like to know that? You may want to leave New York too. And so that's what we do on this show. It's kind of our penance. It's our public service to help you out. And I hope you become a regular listener until they pull the plug on the bunker here. And we did take a few years off, and you can probably tell why they probably don't want me out talking about this stuff. I don't have all the answers. I don't profess to have every detail and facts. I don't have their documents. But these are theories, and you should be able to talk about them freely. free opinion, viewpoints. This is America. They haven't shut us down yet. And you know they would if they could. So I fully expect them to try more things. It's kind of hard, though, really, to shut down a person from talking about every subject. I mean, it's difficult. Their job is difficult to suppress freedom. It's not easy. I mean, there's billions of people and billions of ideas and viewpoints and opinions, and it's not easy for them. Believe me, if they had a way to do it, they'd have already done it, because they know that some of these things are on the right track. And they don't want critical mass being reached where more people become aware of something before their timeline to destroy America is laid out. And so they don't want to disrupt their plans. So getting back on topic here, I wanted to warn you about certain states. Miami, Florida is being terrorized by a 6-foot lizard. That's pretty strange. Alaska, you had some polar bear attacks and a few hunters were killed. There's a cat ban in New Zealand. I actually don't know why they're banning cats, but you think that there must be some important reason. But people are mad. Their cats are being banned. And what I'm telling you here is there's like this big animal revolution. They're all revolting and attacking humans all over the world. And you have to be on the outlook for the lizards, the polar bears. I talked about the dolphin the other day that was not attacking people, but actually just too lovey. He'd like come up a little too close to the swimmers. So that's crazy. The whole world's getting crazy. The animals are fighting back. I suppose from all the pollution and, humans bad, animals good. Along the topic of animals, the good old organization PETA tried to put up a memorial for the dead lobsters. They don't care about dead babies or dead children in Chicago or anything. They're interested in the lobster memorial. So it's just crazy out there. We're going to have to do a whole night on PETA. PETA, the animal lovers, although they've killed 90% of the animals they get to take care of. So they're considered one of the darker animal killing organizations. But, they profess themselves as these great animal lovers. Save the animals, the heck with the children. Will worry more about the lobsters and dogs and puppies and everything else. Anything but humans. Humans bad, and animals good, plants good. Become a vegan. Now, speaking of really dumb stuff, must be one of the dumbest schools is Harvard. They've announced a great big announcement that climate change makes crops less nutritious. Climate change makes the crops less nutritious. A, who cares? B, what about all the poisons that Monsanto and all these corporations put on the plants? That's not important? No. It's global warming. So Harvard has got the stupidest scientists. Obviously, they're after grant money for global warming and climate change to prove that the plants are less nutritious, while ignoring the biggest threat to humanity, which is probably pesticides used by Monsanto, GMO, etc., etc. Not buying it from Harvard, and I'm not sure. Maybe Harvard people need to go back to high school or something. The wheels are coming off the wagon at Harvard. There's a big uproar this week on In-N-Out Burgers in California. Donated $25,000 to the Republicans. Don't worry, In-N-Out Burgers donated $50,000 to the Democrats. They play both sides of the game. because they know both sides are rigged. It's all political theater. And so that's fake outrage. Who cares? In-N-Out burgers, they're pretty good. I don't mind an In-N-Out burger. It's kind of a creepy name, but okay. They make a burger. It's less than McDonald's and the Burger King. It's decent. You can't really ask for more there. So you see here on the late night hour, we do touch on the regular subjects to keep you well informed of what's going on chatter out around the internet. News, of course, is a complete waste of time, and they need you to watch television every day. 1984, George Orwell, remember, watching TV is required. It was the law. You could not escape the telescreen, and you needed your 2-minute hate. They don't care what you stand for, what you hate, if you hate the left or the right, if you hate Islam or Christianity, if you hate black or white or some other race. You have to have your 2-minute hate each day. That's the design. That's the system to provoke you in one of these different directions. And it's very simple right now to take care of that psychological, social re-engineering. You just simply turn the television off. And there's a lot of good people out there to listen to on the internet or even YouTube because they are organic. They're not polished corporate news. They're not designed to brainwash you. So you simply turn the television off until 1984 is actually here. And then it's going to be required to watch television. And they'll have the telescreens at the service station. You've seen those lately. They're on the service station pumps. They'll have the telescreen in the bathrooms, at the train and bus stations, at the airport. It's all about making you watch television, the magic of television to hypnotize you. They probably have their subliminal hidden symbols, numerology, all kinds of colors, harmonics, vibrations, everything they can figure out to keep you in a state of hypnosis so that you don't start asking questions about why am I getting a $1,000 bill that was printed for 14.7 cents? That makes my hourly wage a lot less. Isn't this a slavery system using fiat currency? Yes, my friend, that's what it is. It's a credit system. It's already here. You can call it dollars. I call it 1,000 credits. They give you so many credits. You use those up for the month, you can't drive. You can't watch TV. You don't have power, electricity, etc., etc. It's a credit system, and it's called fiat currency. But these trillionaires, the ones that put up the 14.7 cents, they're so cheap. I mean, they are so cheap, they don't want to even put up the 14.7 cents anymore. They want to go right to digital currency so they can just go to the computer screen and give you your $1,000 or 1,000 credits or whatever you want to call it. You can call it anything you desire. They don't care. It's nothing. It has no value. It's not backed by gold or land. Now, the land is collateral for the credits. If you renege on your national debt, they take your land. They take the hard assets. They take gold if there was any at Fort Knox. But I really suspect that gold's been moved already over to those who are royalty, the trillionaires, the ones that are allowed to put up the 14.7 cents. Now, you're saying, wait, you said our national debt went to the Bank of England. Yes, but behind every corporation is a wealthy family. I almost guarantee it. Behind every multinational corporation, you'll probably find one or a few families actually controlling that multinational corporation. The corporations are there for what purpose? To hide who these wealthy trillionaires are from you. and from everybody else. I mean, there are people at the FBI and the CIA, and that's their full-time job, trying to track down corporate ownership links. They get too high, they're told to back down. Okay? That's what corporations are. They're simply a front for wealthy families that really own things. And so I'm sorry to have to break this news to you. You're probably like, why did you tell me all this stuff? And, that's unfortunately one of the outcomes of the late night hour. We tell you stuff that they probably don't want us to tell you. That's why we have to tell you this from our underground bunker, so that we can get the word out. And don't worry, we do get the word out right now. If you don't find our show here, you'll find it somewhere else. And if we have to, we'll just upload it for free all around the internet. So they've got their work cut out to stop anonymous uploads from happening. Don't you worry. They're going to work on it. They're going to try to tie your biometrics to being able to use the internet at all. Now, they already have my voice print, but they'll want more. They'll want the DNA swab, the eye retina. They'll want fingerprints. They want everything. So they're not going to just rely on, one biometric. They're going to want everything. And so you can fully expect that. So, again, here in the late night hour, some of the things that we do is hopefully share some new ideas with you, touch on important topics, alert you to any developments in your state, like the 6-foot lizard, beware, in Miami. I'll be right back. I'm having a good time, a Thursday night. It's relatively calm. And there might be a few subjects we're going to want to touch on still, so we'll be back in a minute.
She says hello. In the sky, a graceful show. Many fall onto their knees. Blue light dancing to be seen.
You're listening to The Late Night Hour with Alex Abrams.
Not to be outdone, the filth in Hollywood is now coming on to new extremes with the film First Man that covers Neil Armstrong landing on the moon, the first man on the moon. The problem is, it's getting rave reviews, but the problem is it omits planting the American flag on the moon. Oh, my God. This gets back to the universal citizen, the world travel permit or passport, the world passport our caller tonight told us about. You can't like your country. Your country can't be celebrated. Why would you want to celebrate planting the American flag on the moon? You have to omit any type of accomplishment for greedy Americans over consumers. Americans, bad. Universal global citizen, great. And so they've omitted the American flag. When asked about why they omitted the flag, they say landing on the moon transcended borders. And so we felt it wasn't important. What does transcend even mean? Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to transcend the box office and boycott the film. Who would want to watch an anti-American film that isn't proud of American accomplishments? I don't care if you're Canadian or from Italy, Singapore, England, and they make a film about your country being the first to accomplish something, and they don't show your flag in the movie. You should be upset. Every country should be proud of their culture, their nation, and their borders. And they're trying to destroy all of that, and they just sneak it in here and there. And we have to stand up for it. At some point, you have to put country first before entertainment, before watching television, before going to anti-American or anti-your country film. Every country has reason to be excited about their accomplishments and their culture. We don't want a world with one universal country everywhere. We like the different countries. When I want to get a particular food, I can travel to that country. I don't want universal stew everywhere. That's what will happen if all these cultures are destroyed. And so citizens all over the world need to stand up for their country. I love every country. There's not a country on this planet. Not real proud of South Africa lately, the way they're stealing farms, but generally speaking, I'm pretty, supportive of all countries. It's not the people in those countries that are the issue. It's the corrupt leadership in different countries, including the United States. That's the problem. And so all over the world, we need term limits. We need honest leaders. It's time to take the corruption out of the system worldwide. And so it has been kind of refreshing to see some of these leaders tossed out of office, resigning, retiring, etc. Turnover is the best protection we have against the new world global universal order. Okay, because nobody wants a global world government except a few people that want to control it. And those are trillionaires. That's not you and I in charge of the global governance, okay? And so they'll use any reason they can to obtain this global government, whether it be climate change, save the children, help the animals, save the planet, whatever. World poverty can be eliminated. They always promise utopia. That's the game. They're going to promise you utopia. Universal credits. All the credits you want. And you don't have to even work. You can just sit there and collect your credits each month. It's utopia. They always promise utopia and bring in tyranny. That's the game. Don't fall for it. When Bernie Sanders gets up there, what does he say? Free college, free health care, free universal credits. I mean, that's the game. Promise utopia, deliver tyranny. And so you learn that here on the late night hour. Now, our show runs typically, can be 1 hour, can be 2 hours. I just rant and rant until I'm done for the night. Then I read the news and I rant the next day. That's what I do. I enjoy it. It allows me to release stress, to share with you my viewpoints and opinions, and I don't have all the answers. So I really appreciate your help becoming involved with our show. It's free. Go to our website, The Late Night Hour. Submit your email address so we have you in our master list. It's not in the cloud. It's kept on paper. It's very low tech, and that's by design. We keep our list private. And if there's anything really important, we'll drop you an email, but we don't drop you an email every day or anything. And so you can participate that way, or you can call us at 515-602-9663. Any and all callers are welcome here. You're going to be loved. We're very nice and easy, and we appreciate your contributions, your research, your ideas, new theories that I can add to my master theory list. And you can ask a question because there's so many things going on in the world. You might want my opinion on something. You know, given that I've been following all these theories for a long time, I'm like a walking encyclopedia of theories. You say something, I'll tell you the theory about it. And so maybe I can be of service. It's like the Catholic Church. This is my penance. This is like going into confessional and, giving you my 2 cents. In fact, it's probably safer here than it is going to the Catholic Church these days. Now, get me wrong. I'm a big fan and supporter of religion, but not organized religion. Organized religion creates nice buildings, but does nothing to help people, in my opinion. Now, religion, that's a different matter. There's a lot of people who are truly spiritual that believe in Jesus or Muhammad or universal intelligence. I don't think we really know which is correct, but there's nothing wrong with believing in something. I mean, to me, like Einstein, there's a lot of evidence that the world was designed. It's not just this random evolution with these big gaps where, like, the fish suddenly turns into a lizard, but there's no transitional animals that limbs start popping out of. It's just these big jumps. That's the problem with evolution that they don't want to tell you. There's these big unexplained jumps with no transitional species throughout their whole evolution chart. So to me, as Einstein said, it seems that we have intelligent design behind the whole system. If you want to call that God, that's great. I don't judge others. Everybody's entitled to their beliefs. And the last thing I want to do is have religious fighting taking place, like a massive war between the Christians and Islam. That war has been going on generation after generation after generation. If the economic system starts to collapse, they're going to throw that in. That's what they want. That's the big card to play. Create a holy war. And after everybody's fought between themselves and wiped out the planet, they'll step in and offer the solution, the world passport, the universal citizen, the elimination of all religions other than theosophy and the 7 rays, of course. Oh, they have their fake religion ready. They've been working on it for generations. You can be certain the fake religion is going to be more and more appearing as a replacement for the Catholic Church. The churches are under attack. Now, don't get me wrong, the Catholic Church has done a lot of damage to themselves. And every pope, if you go back, every generation has been filled with filth, abuse, very dubious activities. They've done it all to themselves because they don't really care about God and Jesus and spirituality. They care about the institution, the power of the church, the opulence, the limos, the planes. That's what they worship. They don't worship like the little guy who has a belief in God or intelligent design or Jesus. And they make Jesus sound out to be this big pacifist. No, Jesus was anti-state. That's why Jesus is such a threat to the establishment. You can just bring up Jesus. You'll just get them all nervous and upset because they can't handle it. Jesus was rebellious. He was against the state. But this day and age, they make Jesus a pacifist. He turned the other cheek. He said to Rome gets Rome's and to us we get the worship or whatever. So they've distorted a lot of, I think, the facts of Jesus, whether he was a real person or an idea or both. Regardless, that's beside the point. Oh, I've got to get back to one of the important topics. China is starting to arrest people for spreading rumors. Oh my God, I'm glad I don't live in China. They'd be busting it in here right now because I can't tell you it's fact because they don't give me the papers. They won't give me the government papers. They're all national security. So how do I know? I just tell you the theories. I'd be in bad situation in China. But that's the point. It's the same point with this concept of a hate speech. What is hate speech, Mark Zuckerberg? He couldn't define it. No one can define it. That's the point. It's designed that way. No one can design what fake news is or what rumors are or fear mongering or rumor mongering. I think they're calling it in China. If you're a rumor monger, you're going to go to jail. That's how totalitarian China is. This place is getting out of control, and it's our own fault because the United States built China. We built just like we're building their servers over there with Google and Apple. We built a lot of their military. We designed them as a totalitarian society as a test. They're going to roll all this stuff back to the U.S. of A. after it's tested out on the poor Chinese people. That's what that is. It's a lab, and it's for extreme combination of totalitarian and technology bundled together, commonly known as technocracy. And technocrats, they're not politicians, they're technocrats. Anyway, let's get back to the important topic here, and that is hate speech, rumor mongering, fake news. What it is, it's like the Inquisition, okay? They suspected you were a witch, so they put you in this big tank of water, and if you floated, you were a witch and you were burned at the stake. But guess what? If you sank to the bottom of the tank and drowned, you were not a witch. You were absolved from all your sins. So you see the point? There is no point. It's basically all this stuff they can turn on you for any reason and call that you were spreading hate speech or you were spreading false rumors or fake news. There is no definition by design. It's just a system to harass you, to shut down freedom of speech, viewpoints, and opinions. And so I want to thank you for listening to the Late Night Hour. I think I'm talked out tonight. And I want to remind you that since we're broadcasting again after taking a few years off, we're here every night, 7 days a week, except in the extreme case that somebody disrupts our signal, which happened a few nights ago, or I have an exciting social engagement that could convince me not to complain that night. But generally speaking, 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, I've already accumulated enough complaints during the day to make a show up at Pacific. And so I hope you listen to our show, become a regular supporter, and, just engage with us. Come into the chat room or give us a call. And if you lose us, just go to thelatenighthour.com. And you have a beautiful evening, and we'll be talking to you tomorrow night, Friday night, TGIF. See you then.
You're listening to the Late Night Hour.